Hey, Colin, Hiles here, aka the Mindset Guy, with today's video, which is a little bit different to just about any other video I've put together, because this is a very up close and personal. This is my story of how I've gone from 20% body fat down to 12% body fat, and how I've managed to do that around a very busy schedule. So this is sort of a story about last year. Very, very big international, lot of international travel last year. And how I've done this by exercising no more than between 12 and 50 minutes exercise a week, no gym, no exercise equipment, and how I've managed to eat chocolate every single day. Now, why am I doing this? Well, I didn't plan to make this video, to be honest. This was a personal goal that I set last year, but I was speaking with my brother-in-law, Mick, over the Christmas period, and I was sharing with him some of the insights that I've gleaned, some of the things that I'm doing, what I eat, how I exercise, and some of the habits that I'm working on. And he said, you know, you should put a video together on this. This is really inspirational. And then after Christmas, I was sort of thinking about it, an email come through from a friend of mine who I spoke with sort of autumn last year, fall last year. And due to that little conversation that we had, which was really no more than a half hour, 45 minutes, he's gone on to lose 2.5 stone. So it was sort of like one of those clues that maybe I should put something together here and share my story. And I'm going to sort of talk you through the 3 key elements that I focused on to get the result. And I'm going to be showing you some pictures so you can see exactly the journey that I've gone through and where I am at this moment in time. But the 3 things that I'm going to talk about are habits, diet, and exercise. And it's going to be 2 videos. The first video, I'm going to talk about habits and making sure that you get that bit right. And I'm going to share with you the easiest way that I know to lose weight and lose body fat. And how do I know? Because this is the route that I have taken. However, in order to take the easy route, it's not necessarily the fastest route. And I'm going to talk a bit about this and the challenges of going down the fast route. Often it brings about more self-sabotage, it brings about more procrastination, and ultimately quit and failure. So I'm going to talk a bit about that. But before I do, why don't we jump over to my laptop so you can see the results, my results. All right, so here I am, and full disclosure on this picture actually wasn't taken in January. It was taken, I think it was in October the year before, 2013. But because, as I said, I didn't intend to make a video about this, this was a personal goal that I set for myself, I didn't have an image. So this is the best that I could find of me weighing in at my heaviest, and the boys would call me Tubby Bear. I'm weighing here at 13 stone 11 pounds, or 83 kilograms, or 183 pounds. And as you can see, I'm 22% body fat. Now, initially I set the goal to get down to 15% body fat. And here I am, having achieved that goal in April 2014. Goal achieved, very happy with that. But then I thought, well, why stop? Let's see if I can get down to 12% body fat. So I set a goal then to get down to 12% body fat, which is a bit more of a stretch. So here I am, having achieved 12% body fat. Now, once again, full disclosure on this picture. This picture wasn't taken in October. It was taken in January this year when I decided to make a video. And here I am now weighing in at 11 stone 5 pounds, 73 kilograms, or 161 pounds. And this was taken, I'd say, after Christmas. So I've gone through the Christmas period where I've eaten and drinking and all the things that you're not supposed to do, but I still maintained a very, very low body fat, which is very, very pleasing. Now, my wife actually prefers the 15% body fat look than the 12, so I'll probably hover anywhere between those two. I'm not looking now to get any more shredded or lose any more body fat. Very happy with where I am at this moment in time. I'll be 52 this year, so pleased with that. Now let's look at the results. So overall results, I've lost 2.5 stone, or 22 pounds, or 10 kilograms since starting this journey. I've lost 4 inches off of my waist, which has meant having lots of things readjusted, or actually a whole new wardrobe, especially suits.
Down now to 12% body fat. Don't intend on getting down any lower than that. Quite happy with that. I've gained muscle and definition all over my body, which has been fantastic. And I have abs now that I've not seen since my teens.
Okay, so as you can see, the old love handles have gone, and a colleague of mine, friend of mine, sort of challenged me to do this whole video sort of naked from the top up. He thought it would be a very, very good idea. I didn't think it would be a good idea, thus you see I'm not taking that challenge up. Now, excuse me, before I jump in to these three areas here, maybe some disclaimers. Number one, I am not an expert in fitness, I'm not an expert in nutrition, I'm certainly not a doctor. This is my own personal experience. I'm sharing a way, not the way. I am fully expecting, with this video in particular, to get a few individuals that really know what they're talking about to come on and say, you know, wrong advice. And it's an interesting one because it's such a, this is like religion, and it's like politics. It's so controversial. You read one blog or one guru says you should eat potatoes. You read another one that says do not eat potatoes. So I am not an expert. If you take anything that I say, then make sure you consult your doctor first, especially if you're on any kind of medication. Make sure that you get their input and they know exactly what you're doing. Thirdly, don't do anything stupid with what I'm sharing with you. And if you do something stupid, you know, don't say I didn't warn you, right? So now let's jump in then, now that we've got those disclaimers out of the way, and start looking at these three areas, but particularly habits, diet, and exercise, and how to use these three in order to lose weight. Now this is where I do know something about. This is where I would say that I understand a lot more about, because I knew that in order to get to hit the target that I wanted to hit, and as you heard, the original target was 15% body fat, that habits was going to be the essential component. See, most of us, I bet you know a lot about what to eat, what not to eat, and I bet you know a lot about exercise and the type of exercise you're doing, right? So this is common sense stuff. However, this is what makes common practice our habits. In other words, my weight and shape when I first started this journey, the things that I eat and the way that I move comes down to my habits. And habits are, quite simply, it's what makes things automatic. We automize what we do. We can do things without thinking with our habits. So habits simplify. The challenge is that often we can have some bad habits around exercise and around diet, right? So we've got to look at those habits. And right now, what you're eating and how you're exercising, you've done many times, right? You've done thousands of times possibly, and that's why it's easy to do. Habits make things easy to do. So once something becomes habitualized, it becomes easy. And this is, I'm going to share with you the easiest way to take on new habits. And this is backed up with science. This isn't just, you know, what I say. It's backed up with science. It's backed up with neuroscience and just the way the brain works. And that's what I want to share with you here. So we've got to look at habits. We've got to look at how to break habits. We've got to look at how to take on new habits. So let's look then first at three top tips that I can give you around habits. So the first thing that we need to do, which is really, if we want it to be easy, not fast, but easy. I'm going to talk about this as I say. If you want it to be easy, the first thing you've got to do is you've got to set a clear goal, a really clear goal. And everything that I talk about, I'm going to put links below. So if you're watching this on YouTube, I'll put a link below that will bring you to my blog where you can see all the links. I've put videos together where I've shared the 1-3-5-7 formula. And so I'm not going to cover that now in any great detail, other than to say one is about one goal. So my goal was to lose 15% body fat, okay? And then a goal to get down to 12% body fat. 3 represents 3 reasons why you want to achieve that. The 5 represents 5 actions you need to take, and the 7 represents 7 weeks where you plan and you organize. Very simple. So what I did, because in order to do it the easy way, you need a very, very strong vision, a really strong vision. So in the video link below, I'm going to talk about the 3 P's, and one of the P's is pictures. The subconscious mind is influenced heavily by pictures. So I knew I needed to get a very strong image of what it is that I was working towards. So I went out and I went online, and hopefully you can see this. This is loads of these. If you get online and have a look, just put in body fat pictures. And so what I did was I had a look at the pictures here of men and body fat, and how much body fat and what it looks like. So this is 15% here. So this was the initial image that I was interested in. Kind of athletic look, as you can see. And now I've got down to this one here. Now, what I also used as a tool, which is in the Mind Power Toolkit, is the Intention Manifester. And the Intention Manifester is another brilliant tool. I played it for 7 days, every single day. And you go into a state of alpha where the subconscious mind is really open and susceptible. And I took that image and I kept dropping that image down with my head superimposed. There's no head on that, superimposed. And I really wanted my subconscious or unconscious mind to know this is the outcome that I'm going for. Now this is really important. Important because the picture will give you the feeling. And the golden rule of goal setting is you've got to get the feeling first in order to be able to achieve it. Now not only that, I use this simple little affirmation, right, that has served me really, really well, which is nothing tastes as good as thin feels. Now you've got to know what thin feels. You've got to have that feeling. Because when you look at food, when you look at cookies and chocolate, you've got to be able to get in touch with the feeling. In other words, that's not going to taste as good as the feeling that I'm going to have when I'm at my weight and shape. But you've got to have the feeling now. You can't have that feeling, I know what it will feel like when I get there. You've got to have it up front. That's really important. So using the Intention Manifester for 7 days, it's a 20-minute meditation. I take you through, I do all the heavy lifting. I use a timeline therapy technique, which enables you to sort of drop it down, drop the image down sometime in the future. Every single day, that's what I did. I wanted to get the image. Then when I moved to 12% body fat, I did exactly the same again. I just wanted to get that image in so that my subconscious mind was locked in. Because alignment from the subconscious mind, if you've got the subconscious mind on board and the subconscious mind going towards it, you're already, you're well down the path. You're 50% there just by that alone. So that's the first thing that I did. Very, very, very important that you get that right for the technique that I'm going to share with you. And that's the next bit. The next bit then is, what process are you going to choose to get there? Now, what do I mean by process? Okay, so you have the end outcome that you're going for, that's the goal. But then you've got, what process are you going to use to get to that goal? What system, what lifestyle are you going to use to get to that goal? Now there's 2 here. There's what I call the full-on approach, or there's the tiny gains approach. Now let me use an analogy to bring this alive so you can see what I'm talking about. So the full-on approach, this is a mountain, okay? Top of the mountain there represents 12% body fat, that little flag, that's the goal, okay? And we've got 2 choices of how we go up that mountain. Now you can go the most direct route straight up, as you can see here, which is going to be the fastest route, of course, but it's also going to be the most challenging. Whereas over here what we have is not the fastest route. We have a nice gradual, climb to the top, barely noticing the sort of how steep the mountain is. Just an amble up, but we get up there. So this is the difference between fast and easy. Now, the reality is we can't have fast and easy. The subconscious mind, the part that drives most of what we do, is interested in fast and easy. And if you have a look at what most marketers, people out there that market something like weight loss and fat loss, they always go for fast because they know fast is really appealing. Just have a look, right? Lose a pound a day for the next 14 days. Lose a stone in the next 7 days. So the absolute fastest way to lose weight. Right? They know. Now that's great. And this method is a fantastic method, typically when you have leverage from a date where it's very important that you get down to the weight and shape. So a wedding would be an example. Right? You want to look great for your wedding. And that date, that time that you've got, gives you the leverage to take the most direct route, where you've got to make the biggest changes to your diet and to your exercise to get there very quickly. When you're going on holiday and you want to look great on the beach, you know, that gives you the leverage. The subconscious mind experiences pain if you do and pleasure if you don't. So pleasure if you take action and pain if you don't. So you start to get that leverage on yourself. So this works really, really well when you've got that date. Now this technique, the easy approach, is not reliant on a date. I never set a date. I had no date. I wasn't interested in how long it was going to take me, because my focus come down to what I need to do every single day and how I need to change my habits every single day around what I put in my mouth and how I exercise. So I didn't know when I was going to get there. And you saw the timeline in that in the video where I showed you my results, right? So this one is no date. This one typically has a date. The reality with the fast approach, however, is that there is a high failure rate. You may have experienced this. You go on this yo-yo diet. You lose weight, put weight back on. Lose weight, put more weight back on. Lose weight, put even more weight back on. Because you get leverage on yourself to, you know, eat this type of food, but you don't really build the habit. And so it's not habitualized. And as soon as you get there, because you get there very quickly in a month or 2 months, it's like the habits aren't there, the foundation isn't there, and they don't sustain you. I was not interested in that. So, easy means that you don't have a date. You don't set a date. You set the goal, very clear on the goal, and knew exactly what I wanted to achieve, but I didn't have a date. I didn't know when I was going to get there. I'd get there when I'd get there. What matters now is what I do every single day, the goals that I set myself every single day. Now, why is this more successful, and why is this more easier? And why did I choose this route? Now, I didn't realize this, but I was bought this book for Christmas. And it's a fantastic book, as you can see. It's called One Small Step Can Change Your Life, the Kaizen Way. Now, I knew about Kaizen. Kaizen basically means good change, Japanese philosophy. Small improvements every single day, you know, turn into something magnificent. And, you know, I believe in this philosophy. I think it's a fantastic philosophy. But what Moria talked about here is really the neuroscience behind why it works. And let me share that with you now. So, what you see here is the brain. Our brain, your brain, my brain. So we have 3 brains in one. We have the cortex, which is the top part of the brain. There's a right and a left side to that, neocortex. We have the midbrain, which is the emotional brain or mammalian brain. And then we have the reptilian brain or the brain stem. And this is where the fight, flight, or freeze occurs. Now, when all 3 brains are working for us, we typically make better decisions and everything is in harmony. But whenever we are stressed, we basically trigger down to fight or flight. All right? So stress equals fight, flight. Now, the challenge is that when we go for this approach, when we go for the big change approach, where all of a sudden we have to stop eating what we love eating, we have to start moving in ways that we've not done, we naturally trigger off our inner resistance. Now, I put this little bell here, this little alarm bell. This little alarm bell represents what's called the amygdala. We have 2 amygdalas, and the amygdala is always paying attention to the external world. Now, any time that we have a routine or a habit or a system, it's very happy. As soon as we want to change that and do something different, it typically fires off this alarm and we trigger down into fight, flight, or freeze, i.e. resist. We induce fear. And as soon as we trigger down, we don't have the neocortex available to us. I don't know if you've ever had that experience where school days, for instance, where you've revised for a test and you go in the next morning and you look at the question and then you go, oh, what is that? Oh, I know the answer to this. And the moment you start to get stressed, it's like there's no way that you can get access. Or you go to a bank machine and you pull out your credit card to get some money out and you put it in and it says, what's your 4-digit PIN? And you go, oh, 4-digit PIN. Oh, what is it? And then someone behind you goes, oh, and obviously they're in a hurry. And there's no way you can get access. So you eject and you walk away and you walk down the street and what happens? Ping, in comes the 4-digit PIN. And that's because the neocortex wasn't available to you when you got stressed. If that's the neocortex, it's gone. And then we get it back and then we get that information again. So, in other words, when we set about taking big changes, we naturally fire off this inner resistance. The self-saboteur comes in. It doesn't want us to take action. Fear. And we don't get access to the neocortex. That's not available to us. And more often than not, this equals failure. So this is big change. Big change is what happens. It gets the amygdala involved. Now what we want to do is we want to slip under the radar of the amygdala. We want to take the smallest, tiniest actions that we possibly can so that that little alarm bell doesn't go off. When we do that, then what happens, we keep access to the neocortex and we have then more positive emotions because this is negative. This comes down to fear. This comes up to more positive emotions as we keep the whole. And then there's more chance of us being able to take action. So we're not looking to overcome resistance. What we're looking to do is we're looking to bring it down so low that it's easy to just step over it. If the bar's really high, it's a big jump to get over it. So we're not going to overcome it, but we are going to limit it quite a bit. So there's the neuroscience behind it. Big change often equals failure. Small change often equals success. It also means easy. We're just going to make the small little changes every single day or every single week that we need to make, and eventually we'll end up with the outcome that we want. So that was the route that I chose. Now I think there's possibly 3 benefits from choosing this approach, the tiny gains approach. 1, it allows for the brain to make new connections, and those connections are quite small to begin with, but the more we do them, remember we are what we repeatedly do, so if you repeatedly take these little actions, the connections become stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger. 2, it allows us to get mastery over the small things that make the big difference. And 3, it builds awareness around those little things that matter, and we make them more enjoyable. They're more enjoyable to do. I can honestly say that this journey from 20% to 12% has been enjoyable. It's not been a slog. This would be a slog. This is quite a slog. So the last part is that you've got to be able to execute. It comes down to what matters is what we do every single day, not what we do once in a while. So when you choose this approach, you come down to the small little things that you do every single day and the small little changes that you need to make every single day. Now the golden rule of the tiny gains approach is if you're not getting to do something, make the action even tinier. That's the golden rule. Make it so easy to take action, the smallest action. And what Robert talks about in the book, he gives an example of, I think the name of the lady is Julie. So Julie is highly stressed, overweight, and not very fit. Now the obvious advice for anyone like myself is to say, well, you need to exercise and you need to diet, right? Now Julie had heard that many, many times, but she'd done nothing about it. Why? Because of habits. She didn't have time and she was stressed and so on and so forth. So what Robert suggested was go and march in front of your TV for 1 minute watching a TV program. That's it, 1 minute, do that every day. Put the TV on, march in front of it. When she came back to see him, she was so excited, and she said, what else can I do for a minute? Eventually, she got to march in front of the TV for a whole program. See, simple, small changes. If you're not getting to something, make it even smaller. Now, when we come back on the next video, what I'm going to share with you is how I applied the tiny gains approach to both my diet and exercise. And I'm going to give you 3 top tips here and 3 top tips here as well. So, as I said, everything that I mentioned so far will be on the links below. Go check them out. Leave me some feedback. I don't know, for instance, how interested you are in this subject. There might be hardly any interest in this. I have no idea. So please give me an idea of how interested you are, because if this is something you're interested in, I'm happy to make more videos, share more information, give you far more distinctions, because I'm only giving you sort of top level here, okay? There's so much more I could do. But I don't want to waste your time if this is not something you're interested in. And I don't want to waste my time either, because as I said, I didn't set out to make any videos around this, but I'm very happy to do so if it's something you're interested in. So leave a comment, let me know. If you're in a hurry, then you can do a sort of a 10 really enjoyed it, 1 didn't enjoy it, whatever you want to do. But really say, let me know, give me some feedback. I'll see you on the next video.